listening to this podcast right now. Do you want to hear a fucking podcast about anything and everything? Yeah. Like movies, music, television, and more?
Oh my god.
Well, you've come to the right place. Yes. Subscribe to Journey into Comics Network, and you get Podcastrophe, hosted by me, Dick. Why not throw a couple bucks to the Patreon? It's your choice. Yeah. This is a Podcastrophe.
That sounds so awesome.
The following
is a Journey into Comics.
Journey into Comics.
It's a Journey into Comics.
Journey into Comics.
Journey into Comics.
Journey into Comics.
Network.
Production. Welcome back to another episode of Adulting Ain't Easy. I am one of your hosts, Andrew, and joining me as always is my wife, Liz.
Hello.
We are here for another Adulting Ain't Easy episode.
What a shock.
What a shock. We're still in season 2, which is good. Yeah. I don't know how many episodes we're going to have this season, but based on a suggestion we're going to talk about on this week, what are we talking about?
Talking about the honeymoon phase. Real, fake, or otherwise.
Right. It's being like, oh, you're all, I don't know, the way you always hear about like the honeymoon phase, it's all very lovey-dovey and all of that.
Can't keep your hands off each other.
Right.
So in love and so happy, and then reality sets in.
Yeah, and how long does it last, all of that stuff. So we thought, let's talk about that. It might end up being a shorter episode, but let's just kind of share our thoughts. We haven't done really much prep work on this, so...
You're not supposed to say that. We're supposed to be professional.
We're supposed to be professional.
Oh, we spent a long time doing this.
Yeah, we've been playing this for days. So, I guess I can ask you, do you think there's a such thing as a honeymoon phase?
I firmly believe that. But I think a honeymoon phase shouldn't only be limited to a romantic relationship. I think you could say any like new relationship, friendship, whatever. I think there is a honeymoon phase. Yeah. Because you're trying to get like first impressions, and then that feeling of having like a new friend or a new person in your life, and then you kind of get into your routine, and then that kind of ends your honeymoon phase.
Right.
Because I know that's something that's true like with kids. Like the first couple days of school, they're really good, and then their true colors come out, a few days into the school year because they're comfortable now and they're in their routine, and
right.
That's when things start to happen for real.
I think that same thing is true for like not just like people, but for like things like a new job has a honeymoon phase. Mm-hmm. Let's see, you have a new car, you'll have a honeymoon phase with that car, even if it's just like.
The car might be a little weird.
Well, I feel like anytime you're involved in something new, it's always different and exciting. Mm-hmm. It's just you're getting your bearings with it.
Yeah, I think you could say that.
Like if you join for like the younger people, like, or joining a club, or this is my first year in this, like, doing this activity. Oh, it's new, it's different, it's exciting.
But I feel like it's not something that happens to everybody. There's some people that it really doesn't, like, it just depends on the people, right. I guess.
And also pets. I think you have a honeymoon phase with a pet.
I feel like that doesn't come for a long time. Because it just, I don't know. I think that could be subjective. Because
that's true.
You could have, depending on where you get the animal from, how old it is, stuff like that. I mean, you could have a terror for the first 3 weeks of your pet ownership, and then by the time you get a month in, then you're like, oh my gosh, they're so good now.
But I guess it wouldn't really be like a puppy or a very young... Yeah, sorry, I kind of jumped on you there.
Oh, of course you did.
Alright, go on.
But I'm saying, like, it just depends on the animal, because they said, what was it? I saw something, it was like the rule of 3, so it's like, it takes a dog 3 weeks to get used to its surroundings, 3 months to, like, I think it's like, 3 months to, like, get comfortable or something like that. Or, like, 3 months they're very comfortable, and then after 3 years, it's like that's when their personality kind of really shines.
3 years.
Sometimes, I mean.
Interesting. Well, I guess if to adjust to a whole nother life. Mm-hmm. I think especially with
like 3 years, they're finally comfortable, I guess, in the life that they're in.
Yeah, that might only be true like if you got a dog later in life. Like I feel like a puppy just accepts everything. Like Max, I don't think it took Max 3 years to be completely comfortable.
Let me look it up.
Yeah, but I think with a lot of things, like I think now we're kind of sidetracked on.
There's a 3-3-3 rule. That's what it is. Okay, so it's like what is it? The 3-3-3.
Yeah, what does it say?
Come on, that doesn't really help me.
Is it days, months?
Okay, so it says your puppy will go through there's like a first 3 days. So the common milestones your new dog or puppy will go through will be the first 3 days after bringing them home, then the first 3 weeks, then 3 months.
Okay, so
the first few days are spent trying to figure it all out, then the few weeks you get more comfortable, and after a few months they settle into their home. It's days, weeks, months, not weeks, months, years.
Okay, that makes more sense. So the years seemed like a stretch.
But, sometimes with certain dogs, it does take years.
Right, I feel like if a dog had a whole other life, whole other family, I could see that making sense.
Yeah. But I think that's also true with certain relationships. I think with, kids, that's the same way. I think it's like if you see someone, if a kid has a new adult in their life, it's 3 days for them to kind of figure out what's going on, 3 weeks to get comfortable, and 3 months to be like, okay, you're safe.
Right,
You're a trusted adult.
Yeah, I feel like people are naturally guarded. And I think that's true really when it comes to relationships. And really I feel like with relationships, you really don't know someone fully. I think it takes probably...
Again, it's subjective.
I like the whole... You get through one full year with a person, and you kind of... Because you get through all the holidays, a lot of this kind of the seasons, you kind of really get to know someone. And you never really stop... You never really know someone 100%. It takes... I think a lifetime to really fully become kind of not symbiotic. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
There's you always learn something new, even if you thought you knew everything.
Right.
But I feel like we kind of got a little off track. But we're talking about this the honeymoon phase, which is basically it's when everything's new and exciting. I feel like I think I talked about this before we actually recorded. How I think. When we first started dating, the new relationship was kind of like a honeymoon phase.
Yeah,
and people even refer to it as that, in dating relationships. You have that honeymoon phase where, you want to spend all your time together. You want to do all these things together. You really want to be around that person, learn as much as you can. It's just
it's like your new security. You're trying out some new security blanket. And at first, it's like a new toy. You see it and you're like, ooh, I just want to play with it all the time, not the time. And then at a certain point, you have to decide, well, do I still like playing with this? Do I want something new? Or do I go back to something old? If you think of it that way.
Yeah, it's...
It's almost like getting rid of something. That sounds bad. After the honeymoon phase, you're like, well... Do I want to stick with what I have? Do I want something new? Or do I go back to something old? And you can really... that could apply to a lot of decision-making with relationships.
Right, I can see that being true. It's like when you say about, some people figure out, it took me 6 months to realize that, this is not gonna work.
Right, is this person right for me? And at some point you'll figure that out. If they are, then great. Then you stay there. If you figure out a few months in, you're like, oh, maybe this wasn't what I wanted, you start over and you find someone new.
Right.
Or you figure out that they're a rebound and you're like, I need to go back to what I know, which is really shitty, but, it happens.
I think it's really, I think a lot of it, you just kind of... Because sometimes people, it takes some, people who've, dating someone forever and then realize, oh, we didn't realize, we never had this one conversation. That was, sometimes it comes down to, oh, we were together, we had this, but we never talked about kids, then realized that we both were very different on our decisions, and that's a deal breaker for certain people.
Yeah, I think once the honeymoon phase is over, then it's kind of when you hit those, hard-hitting questions of, mostly it's I feel like there's an order, a hierarchy, as you will say. So you first start about talk about, okay, how serious is this going to be?
Right.
Then you go up to, okay, is this long-term, short-term, whatever. Then you kind of go from there with, like, the higher, like, when do we move in together? When would be appropriate for us to get married? Are we thinking of marriage? What do you think about kids? What do you think about finances and, like, dreams and aspirations and things like that? And once you go through those, it's kind of like, then you figure out, like, okay.
Right.
But, I mean, honestly, there are some people that just, like, are perpetually in a honeymoon phase, and that's fine. That's really lucky.
Yeah, that is nice. Like, some people are just, and that's some people, and some people go through, like, almost, like, times where they're like that. It's like, oh, it's like randomly, like, oh, when the seasons change, you get, like, that the mood strikes you, and, like, you're in, like, a couple-week honeymoon period, or it's just, like, everything is great, everything is nice, you just want to cuddle up in bed and watch TV all the time, or, but, and, like, for some people, it's just, like, there's just, it's always, like, a steady amount of consistent romance and life that just kind of happens to work, and I feel like that's kind of how we are.
What? The, like...
We've kind of, not that we've, like, plateaued, but we've hit a very, like, consistent, I wouldn't call it, like, a honeymoon phase, but we're just, it's a very, like...
state of nirvana.
Yeah, I guess that, like, because...
I was going to say, I still think I'm in the honeymoon phase, even though it's 9 months in.
Yeah,
in terms of marriage. That's right. I feel like marriage honeymoon phase and dating honeymoon phase could be completely different.
Yeah, I agree. Like, I feel like, I don't know, it all feels just that, like, basically since we lived together, I feel like it's all been pretty consistent. It's almost like, since we lived together, it was kind of the first taste of honeymoon. Like, we're with each other now more than we're with anyone else in our lives. Mm-hmm. And, like, before you move in together, before you even live together, you're not like that. You'll see each other, even if you saw each other every day, there's still 20 hours a day that you're not...
gotta go to bed.
Right, you still gotta go to work, still gotta go to bed, you're still, like...
Still have to go to the bathroom by yourself.
Right. God, I hope people don't go to bathrooms together. That'd be weird. But, yeah, so you're still spending at least,
weird.
like...
You're definitely going to the bathroom while I'm in the bathroom.
Right, but I'm saying, like, you're not going to the bathroom at the same time. It's not like you're sharing toilets.
Not unless you've got 2 toilets in the bathroom. I think that's a dream.
Have you seen the picture of, like, the weird couples, like, toilets was, like, they're not... They're like, side by side, but they're, like, one's facing one, one's... I'm like, that just...
That's
I need private time when... Like, that's not something you share. I don't care how close you need to be.
Oh, I don't know.
But, like, I've gone to the bathroom while you're showering and vice versa. It's just... You share a bathroom. And it doesn't help now that since our master is... You know, it's almost done. It's still... We're down to one bathroom that we use regularly, and it does make things more interesting. Mm-hmm. But I'd say that, yeah, we are we're in a state of bliss. And I don't know if that's ever going to change, because it feels like we've been pretty consistent since we've lived together with how our days, weeks, our typical date nights, what we do after work, how our weekends are spent. We're always just kind of... We're good.
Mm-hmm. You never hear us arguing very much.
No.
Unless we have to get somewhere and get somewhere now.
Right. Usually it involves a schedule. Mm-hmm. And a change of schedule usually causes a little bit of snipping or a soft voice. That is...
Oh my... Let me tell you about that soft voice. Because it is the most freaking irritating thing. Like, we'll be, like, trying to do something. I'm trying to tell him something or whatever. And he'll be like, it's fine. It's fine. And it sounds like the intonation. I'm like, it's not fine. You are mad at me. Like, just tell me. I'm the one person that you can be mad at. And, like, just tell me.
Raise your voice. Don't just get soft-spoken.
Yes, don't get soft-spoken on me. I hate the hidden anger. Like, what is it? Passive-aggressive. That drives me crazy.
It's fine.
It's like, tell me it's fine or tell me it's not. Just don't give me that voice. And then it just drives me crazy. I'm like, you're mad at me. No, I'm not. Yes, you are. You're using
tell me why you're mad.
Yeah, tell me why you're mad. You're mad at me. No, I'm not. I'm not.
Right.
I'm not.
Yeah. I guess the word that could be, like, just, like, super quiet and just, like, not say anything. But, I don't know. We don't really have, like... Yeah, we just kind of... Yeah, we just have our little stressful moments more than, like, fights. Like, let's go. We got to get here this time. It's like, we'll get there when we get there. It's just yeah. Well, when we butt heads about schedule is usually... Mm-hmm. Yeah. But I feel like, yeah, for the most part, the honeymoon phase isn't really... I feel like it applied to so many things, but yeah, I think for us it's been pretty consistent. It does have its ebbs and flows, like everything in life.
Mm-hmm. I can tell you I'm not in a honeymoon phase with my job. I think that lasted a whole, maybe 2-3 weeks, and I had my big incident with a kid, and ever since it's been
wind's break.
Yeah, you're counting on the days until you have your next day off. I will say this, I think it's every school year you have your little, your honeymoon period, but I think for me, I want to say this year it only lasted until about, I want to say a week after Labor Day. Not that Monday after, but it was the second or third full week of September. I was just nope, I hate everybody. These kids are rough. They're really annoying. They're not mature. How can they talk to people like that? Blah, 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 blah. And now it's now it's just lackluster. And
right.
Will a honeymoon phase come back when I'm all happy and excited and oh yeah, they love my job? I don't know.
Well, I feel
probably not till winter break.
Did you have a honeymoon phase when you switched from a self-contained to your resource role? Was there as you're kind of feeling that out and getting used to the different dynamic with the kids?
No, because the kids were... I mean, I did have, it was more of, it was still kind of a honeymoon phase, but it wasn't as long. I would say it was, 2 weeks. And plus my schedule changed, and that kind of really put a damper in a lot of stuff.
Yeah, I could see that.
So, it just, yeah. It's, it's a short amount of time for a teacher because you get, when the kids are really good... For the first few weeks of school, you're yes, this is going to be an awesome year. These kids are awesome. Blah, blah, blah. And now, we sit in team meetings, for 8th grade, and we just sit there and we're man, these kids are rough. And we just, talk about all the bad things and all the nasty things that they say about each other and teachers and the shit they say to teachers. Shoot, if we were... back in 1998, I mean, these kids would have gotten a smacked ass because they would have been bad. Right. Naughty kids.
Yeah, and usually the kids were if you got in trouble at school, they got in just as much trouble at home, and they would... But I feel the kids now, at least from what I hear, is that their parents always have their back, and they could care less what...
I don't know, we were having that conversation today. We were just why do you think we would call home and lie about something? Don't you think we have other things that we need to do? That's the least... I hate that part of my job. And I know I'm a teacher, but I hate calling parents and giving them bad news. That's the worst part of my job. But they did start something new, which was kind of nice. They wanted us, which is kind of hard some days, to do a positive email home once a week. You pick one kid... that you have in class, and you write or you call parents and some positive stuff about their kids. So this was the first week that I was doing it. We're kind of getting it started, and what?
No, sorry, I heard the cat meowing in the distance. I was what is that cat yelling about? Go on.
So this week was my first week, and that was really nice because the mom did email back, and she's oh, that's so nice that you did that. Blah, 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 blah. So that was kind of a nice thing, but just in general, just the kids are just nasty. I don't know. Sometimes they break you to a point where you have the opposite, where you're in that, I don't even know, what's the opposite of a honeymoon?
A divorce phase?
Sure.
I don't know.
That sounds good.
I don't know.
I'm in a divorce page right now. I'm
where you're
I'm so jealous of one of my teacher friends is she put in for her retirement, so she has 3 years left. They give you... I don't know how long of a notice you really have to give, but she gave her 3 years notice, and I'm just gosh darn it, I wish I were like them.
You want to be in your 50s, and
I want to, not that I want to be in my 50s, it's I wish I was been teaching for 20 some years, and then I can retire.
Yeah.
But that's
you are
not
far from all of that.
Yeah.
All of us, when it's when you look at your 401k, oh, this is for retirement when you retire in 2055, and I'm That's
such a long...
35 years from now.
I know.
Oh, I'm going to be so old. By the time I want to be done. But yeah, I think it is nice that you do have the program of saying about... Because I feel like as a parent, you probably dread an email from a teacher because it's probably 95% of the time bad news. Mm-hmm. Like, or any note home. It's like never something good. It's like, hey, your kid did great. Like, a phone call teacher is like, you always think it's a bad sign.
That's why they usually don't answer, and then I leave a message.
Just so you know, things are good. Your kid is good.
The problem that I have with the positive thing is I have such a small caseload. I'm going to be, like, saying this to parents, like, 3 or 4 times a year. Like, that's just so awkward. I don't think that I'm going to be doing it super often, but, like, I think doing it every once in a while, like, just telling people, hey, I'm doing my caseload, and I will send them a positive note, but just wait on me, because I don't want them to be bombarded with, like, because I only see 5 8th graders, and then I'm in, like, a co-taught classroom, but it's just awkward. Like, I don't want to go. It's just weird. Anyway.
It's like, your kid only yelled at me once today. That's
kind of how
an improvement.
Some of the teachers today were feeling. They're like, well, because one teacher was like, I can't do it today because I'm just like, these kids were terrible today. He's like, he tried to make up one for one kid because he called him inquisitive, but really he was like, he's just asked so many damn questions. They're
like me.
It's just like, he's like, that's too much.
Right. I just love hanging out with teachers. Like, that one day I went out to that restaurant after that dance with a bunch of your teacher friends at that Mexican place, and just hearing them all just talk about their kids they have, and just how some are just so terrible. I'm just like, I'm glad my job doesn't involve, like, dealing with small children.
Glad that you find entertainment in our pain and sorrow.
But it's okay, you're all drinking margaritas and just venting.
That's why we have to have our wellness events, aka our outings.
Your sanity. Your venting sanity sessions. Like, my kids were all dicks. I'm done.
Pretty much. But yeah, definitely the honeymoon phase. This is like, right now, like in October is usually when most teachers' honeymoon phases are done. I don't want to say never, but I think about 99.9% of the time I've never heard a teacher say, wow, like my class is so awesome all the time. I just have no problems ever. I've never had to have a write-up. Like, that is total bullshit. There is always going to be like 1 or 2 or even more days that your class is just going to be utterly the worst.
Right. Is it like when you're a first year teacher? Is it they're more of like a just like, oh, I'm just happy to be here. I'm learning a lot.
It depends. It depends on your group of kids, because
was your first year?
Mine was okay. I mean, it was a learning year, but I mean, it could have been a lot worse. I did have my struggles and strives, but overall it could have been really bad.
I feel like you had a better connection to your kids that you had when you first started. Because you still talk about those kids. Even though they're all in high school now. Like,
I know. I loved them. Like, but that's because but the thing was, I spent all day, every day with them. It's not like now where I see them like 2, maybe 3 times a day. Sometimes I don't see any of them at all. Mm-hmm. So it's just kind of one of those things. So, yeah. What's the honeymoon phase? Are you out of your honeymoon phase in your job, even though it's been a couple of years?
I would say it's kind of monotonous. Mm-hmm. I'm kind of getting that, not the 7-year itch, but it's just like I wouldn't be, like, if another opportunity presented out, I wouldn't be heartbroken to leave, but I do really like the people I work with.
Yeah.
Like, it's not that I'm getting, like, feeling stale in it. It's just like, it went from, like, where I was doing, like, new things every day to being like, yeah, we're just getting work done. It's pretty routine.
Well, that's what happens when you're a project manager.
Yeah, I go from project to project. When I was doing the project development, that was all like working towards a goal, and now it's like, and now we're just doing stuff in and out. And I'll do a couple things different, but it's very consistent, which isn't a problem. I like kind of going to work and knowing I got to get done and get out. Like, routine is nice. Sometimes when you're like, I don't know. It's like the people, like, where you find out, like, there's a couple that just, like, oh, we're nomadic. We just travel, just drop of a hat. Like, we're fine. We just are, I'm like, just, some people's carefree lives just give me anxiety. Mm-hmm. And, I don't know.
Sometimes I wish I had their life where I could do something different.
Because we talked about this like on our last show. We talked about the millennial move about how people are. I think people long for that honeymoon phase with like career and life that they'll run to the next thing to kind of restart that clock with something new and something different. Like, oh, things are getting boring here. Or thinking of people like that are like in their 20s are like serial daters, where like they're always dating someone different just to kind of it's almost like chasing a high of something new. I don't know. I feel like I don't really know anyone, but I remember people like in college and stuff that were like that. Were always like, or they were just like fickle about life. And just like, I'm just doing this today, or it's like, I got a new job after I'm on my fourth apartment in 3 years. It's just like I just like doing things my own way. Like okay, like I don't know. I think there are drawbacks, but I think the honeymoon phase is nice. I think that helps you kind of figure your other person out.
Yeah, I agree.
But I feel like people like hit like different life milestones that kind of restart a more like not intimate, but a closer, more honeymoon phase like thing. I feel like once you have a child, it brings
you get new joy out of things,
right? Because you brought someone into this world. There's now you have a honeymoon phase. Like we did this, you enter a new phase of your life with that. Like there's no long like what you were before and what you are after you have a kid are two entirely different things. And the same thing, like probably the same thing we said, like in this age of life, like when you become an empty nester for the first time, that's probably a honeymoon phase there. It's like rekindling your romance when you stop being parents and you're back to just being a couple again. And probably when you retire, it's that same kind of thing. It's just, I think every life stage has a honeymoon phase. And I think there's definitely, I would say, there's probably myths that people are like, oh, if you're 2 months into your marriage and you're not feeling this way, there's a problem. I think it's like everyone's story is different. I think everyone experiences life differently. Everyone feels things differently. And I think if you compared 5 married couples or even 50, like no two are going to have the same experience.
Yeah, I'd agree.
And I don't know. Maybe it was and I think maybe the myth of what people like the stereotypical honeymoon phase, I think is probably more of a product, like the one people always think of like when they see it like in movies or on TV. I think it's a product of like a different time when like you didn't live together until the moment you left that church after you got married, and most of the time you went from that to you're pregnant now. You're like it was just like the 50s style of like wedding to. Like that time you went on like 6 dates, decided to get married, and like it was all done within a year. Like everything was more shorter times. Like kids in our generation, I feel like date for a long time, move in together.
Well, yeah, it just depends on it depends on what the culture is like, because some areas of the U.S. it's like people date for like a second and then they're like, oh, we're getting married, and some people they date forever and they're like, maybe we'll just keep doing what we're doing and not worry about that.
And some people just like, we'll just live together, not get married, and just be like common law married. Like married, you're doing everything that you would do when you're married, except like, because I feel like pretty much our thing was like, from the day before our wedding to the day after our wedding, our lives weren't that different. Like once we were back in our routine and weren't like, amidst all the wedding planning and stuff, our lives were pretty much back to what they were before. But it was new and exciting, and being able to like call someone, like go from like boyfriend girlfriend to fiancés to husband and wife is a whole different dynamic.
Oh yeah,
and it feels so much more adult calling someone like your spouse or your husband, your wife.
Spouse was such
spouse.
A weird word.
Spouse is a weird word, but I think I like spouse more than fiance. Fiance always sounded a little. It sounds almost like you're just putting on airs more than like husband wife. It's my fiance.
Yeah, it's like you're showing off.
We summer in Europe. Like no, you're getting married in 6 months. Congratulations. But like husband and wife just has that like, that is
Yeah.
my wife.
Yeah.
Can you tip or two for my wife and I, please? Thank you.
Yeah.
Like,
I do like referring, like, if I'm talking, like, oh, how's your weekend? Oh, well, my husband and I, and it's like, it feels nice.
Right.
They take me seriously as an adult, like, oh, no, my boyfriend and I.
Or it's like when you introduce someone like, oh, have you met my wife? It's not towards like, oh, yeah, this is my girlfriend, or this, like...
I don't know, and there's nothing, I don't know.
Well, that's like,
just...
I still remember it stuck out, like, on Saturday, it's like at your brother's football game, it's like, oh, I'm seeing my brother-in-law play. Like, it's not like, oh, I'm seeing my girlfriend's brother. Mm-hmm. Like, it's just, it makes things condenser. It's just like, yeah, it makes a lot of sense why I'm here. Mm-hmm. I'm here with my wife's family. Like, it's nice.
It's nice.
It makes it feel more like, makes more sense. Mm-hmm. It's like, oh, do you know someone who plays? Yeah. I don't know.
My brother-in-law.
My brother-in-law. Help your mother-in-law do that. Like, I got to. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But, I don't know. I think it's all nice. And I don't know if, like, I don't know why I almost said, like, I wonder if it's like a honeymoon phase with a divorce. Like, you just, like, you just get out of...
That's why they have divorce parties, honey. Is there a honeymoon phase? Well, duh, because
We're out! Bye!
you have a honeymoon phase with yourself because you're like, this bastard's out of my life, or this
Right.
bitch is out of my life. Hooray! Like, yeah.
Yeah,
I feel like there's a honeymoon phase with that, I guess. But
Right. Just not with that person.
the one you really... I
Right.
don't know. Not the one that I would like to imagine.
Right. That's a divorce just sounds sad.
Yeah.
But for some people it's happy. Like, sometimes they just need it. Mm-hmm. Like, I know plenty of people that are divorced that led to, like, a second marriage or a different situation, and they're better off for it. But it's just... It's never great. Mm-mm. But, I don't know. Do we have anything else to add?
No.
Weird. This is kind of it was a weird topic, and it was just like, yeah, let's share our...
Just keep degrading us. My gosh. You have no confidence in us whatsoever.
It's just after... I don't know. I believe in us. It's just...
I believe in we. I believe in we.
What is this?
I believe in we.
We believe in I.
No.
No.
That doesn't work that way.
I don't know.
I don't know. We need to end this because I really gotta go poop. I really gotta poop, so hurry up.
Hey, go ahead.
No,
I'll wrap up this show.
No,
This is another thing about the honeymoon phase. Is like when you can talk about bathroom stuff with another person. That is, you were on.
I mean, that was.
That was like us on like week 2,
It's like
maybe date 2. Like it's just like I had to go.
Yeah.
But
okay, well,
I think that does it for adulting ain't easier this week. Love your person, poop in front of them, do all that.
That just sounds really gross. I just need to go to the bathroom, okay?
All right, that'll do it. I'm Andrew.
And Liz.
Have a great week.